What's up, everybody? Chris Jacobs here for Mecum Auctions. I'm lucky enough to travel all around the country checking out collections that are going to be going across the auction block. Well, today I'm in Alexandria, Virginia to see a small but very cool collection that we'll be seeing headed to Monterey. And I brought some friends with me to check it out. Hey, Steve.
Chris, how are you, mate?
Great to see you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me today. I have no idea what you want to show me, but with you, I know it's going to be something very exciting.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Steve Matchett, of course, our resident automotive guru. Now, you said you don't know what's inside, but I can tell you a lot of them are right up your alley.
That's very, very cool. Thank you.
And in addition, I brought another buddy of ours to help us check it out.
Let's go.
Come on inside. Aha, there he is.
Hey, what's happening?
How you doing, Wayne?
Mr. Carini, how
Steve,
are
how
you?
are you, man?
Wow,
Good to
what a
see you.
pleasant surprise.
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, too.
Well, what is your connection to this collection?
Well, I've been asked to help sell this collection. This is Mike's collection, and Mike was a mechanical genius, and he loved low-mileage cars and exotic cars. And so I've been asked to help sell these cars, and what better place than Mecum in Monterey?
Yes.
Wow, well, Chris, a moment ago when you said, Steve, there's going to be some cars in here that are right in your wheelbase, boy, were you absolutely on the money. We got Lamborghini, I can see Ferrari over there. We got race cars here. This is fantastic.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
A bit of everything. Let's take a look at some of the cars. Lamborghini Countach. So this is the anniversary, 89's last year. So you've got the Don Johnson version, you know, Miami Vice version, white with a red interior. Really great car.
So not just one, two 25th anniversary
So we've
cars.
got this example with 20,000 miles, which is low miles. Beautiful example. And then we've got the ultimate, to me, we've got the black version here with black interior. This car has over 1,000 miles, 1,000 miles on it.
The iconic quintessential Lamborghini scissor door.
Yep.
Little boop. So let's go from the Countach to the next Lamborghini model, which was the Diablo.
So we're going from a 5-liter 12-cylinder to a 5.7-liter. Now these, when they first came out, they were controversial because they had that wedge shape, and now this is a little more swoopy, but yet still had that basic supercar look.
Yes, and again, it retains that Lamborghini styling. The cars were very aero efficient, but when you design a car like this, you have to keep the cars either angular or make them swoopy. Either of them work, but you just can't intermesh those two designs. And I love the fact that Lamborghini stayed with what they knew worked.
Well, from the Diablo, let's fast forward another decade to the Gallardo.
So the Gallardo was something that Lamborghini had never really jumped into that pool of smaller cars with V8 engines or V12 engines all the time. But this is a V10 engine in this car. Audi all-wheel drive platform, of course, and then that V10 engine. It's really a great car. Really a great car. And this color combination is just outrageous. It's so cool with the piping in the seat to match the outside color of the car.
And would you guys say that this car kind of represents that era that's the transition from the analog age tending towards the digital age?
Yes, absolutely. This was the car that really made Ferrari a lot of money. 308, so we went from a 246, which was a mid-engine car, a little Dino. We went to the 308, which is a 3-liter 8-cylinder, to a 328 3.2-liter 8-cylinder. Transverse engine in this car, where the engine is actually sitting on the gearbox and the rear axle. So this car, though, made a lot of money for Ferrari because they mass-produced these cars.
It makes a lot of sense in terms of engineering. When you look at this car, we talked about Lamborghini having a very distinctive shape. Like you could see it from 1,000 paces away, you know it's a Lamborghini. When you looked at this shape of Ferrari from the mid-80s, this is an 89 car.
89, yeah.
I mean, it's unmistakable, right? It screams Ferrari to me, and I love the shape of this car. Pininfarina at its finest.
This particular car has got very low mileage, just about 10,000 miles on it.
Wow.
So it's very popular. These cars are starting to really come up in value. It's amazing how these cars are now becoming a cult car.
Yes, and it's a Spider, it's a removable top, and that top will just sit perfectly behind the seats.
Right behind the seats, yeah. Well, you know these.
I know them I know them very well, and I've enjoyed owning these cars, and I've enjoyed working on these cars. But to me, when I was just starting to work with Ferrari in '87, it was this era, and I immediately fell in love with it. These are so beautiful.
Yeah. We went from a 328 to a 348 to a 355.
Right.
And then we went into this car, which is just changed everything for Ferrari. 2001 360 Spider. Ferrari finally figured some stuff out when we got to this stage. You know, we had a longitudinal engine in this car rather than a transverse engine. A lot easier to do the maintenance on this car. The top, you push a button. Now, if you did that in a 348, the top would get halfway up and it would stall, and then you'd have to drive around with the top halfway up. They finally figured the top up where this cover would come up and the top would fold down, and it seemed to work. This color combination is really fabulous. I think this is going to do really well in California. I can see this as being a California car.
I think it's exquisite. It's great to know that not all Ferraris need to be red, and there can be different colors, and when they get it right, it really does work well.
And on this particular model, this was something everybody went crazy for, putting glass over the engine so you could look in. Because everybody's question is, can I see the engine? Well, there it is. It's right in front of you. I'm a big fan of front-engine 12-cylinder Ferraris. And this one in particular is just spectacular. It's got the racing bucket seats. The factory wheels are great, but yet it's got the, of course, enameled Scuderia Ferrari badge on the side.
Transmission is the 360?
Same transmission. But what's so cool about these cars is it's got so much horsepower. When you put your foot into it in a rear engine car, it just pushes you forward.
Yeah.
This, the back end squats down, the front end picks up in the air, and you just go, it's like a rocket going down the road. I just love these cars.
Yeah.
All right, guys, well, let's go from the Italian roads to the American track. And Steve, you're probably going to want to weigh in.
Steve, you're the man on these.
I love these cars. I never worked in Indy Car, but when I look at the engineering of these cars, I'm very familiar with what is happening here. I started my career in Formula One in 1990, and when I look at the engineering on these cars, they follow a very similar philosophy.
These are both powered by Honda engines. They don't have engines in them right now because basically when these cars left, they took the engines out of these cars. They didn't want anybody looking at the engines.
Yeah.
So they were old race cars after they raced for a year, and now they built something new.
Another iconic body shape, the Jaguar E-Type.
You know, we just left the Ferrari, and Enzo Ferrari stated once that the E-Type Jag was the most beautiful car ever built. And I got to sort of agree with him. It's just got a beautiful long hood. Now, this is a 6-cylinder version. E-Type started in 1961, and the real good cars with the covered headlights were until 67. This 67 is unbelievable. This is opalescent gray with a maroon interior. I mean, this is the color combination, that beautiful black top, chrome wire wheels. It's jewelry. And the restoration on this car is fabulous.
Another unique feature of the E-Type is the way that the bonnet operates.
Let's lift this up. Let's take a look.
Wow, talk about jewelry.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that something?
That has to be, Wayne, better than when it left the factory.
Oh, I think so. No, this restoration is just absolutely perfect on this car. We've done a lot of restorations on these cars myself, and I'll tell you, this workmanship is spectacular.
Well, let's move from the 6 to the 12.
So from 1967 to 1973, how things changed.
Yes.
You know, they had to put the big bumperettes on the front because now they had to have little safety issues
Safety's
going
ugly.
on. And of course, they had to put a lot of emissions things. But this 12-cylinder, when they run great. But look at all the plumbing under there.
Oh my goodness.
Now, this one's dialed in and really runs well.
Yes.
Air conditioning was added, of course, trying to Americanize the car a little bit more. You'll also notice that the doors are a lot longer because the biggest problem they said they were having was people getting in and out of the car was a little bit of a problem. So they lengthened the doors, they put a 12-cylinder in it, but when these 12 cylinders are running great like this car, I mean, they just sing. It's a beautiful engine.
So why don't we now visit a little bit of a hybrid? And I say that because we're going to check out Italian style with American power. The 74
And we're right here.
Pantera.
We're right here.
And these cars always get a lot of attention at auction.
Well, you know, a Ghia styling right from Italy, and then you put a Ford engine in it. So this actually started out as the Di Tommaso Mangusta.
Early Di Tommaso's, they used a European Ford engine to begin with, and then made that shift to American Ford. Let's have a look at it, shall we?
Yeah.
I think it'll be something quite spectacular. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so this is a 351 Cleveland engine. Of course, we've got the transaxle in the back, the ZF transaxle.
I love the treatment, but again, just the finish on this engine and drivetrain combination is fantastic.
You know, these came originally with a pan that would go in here and would cover all this for your luggage to go in.
Right.
But everybody that does these, and they want everyone to see the engine, and like the Ferrari, I mean, that's the focal point of the car.
All right, guys, well, we have kind of crossed over into the hybrid section, meaning Italian and American. Let's go full American Ford power now and see the GT.
It is an absolutely beautiful car. I've always liked these cars. I like the fact that Ford produced the car in remembrance of what happened with the original car, the Ford GT40. This car is taller than 40 inches, and there's a story about the name, Wayne, right?
Yeah, so it's 44 inches.
Okay.
We grew a little bit, but
Yeah.
it made more sense to do that. But it still has a lot of the features. So for instance, these cars, in order to have the drivers get in, because the driver switch was very important,
Yeah.
you had to jump into the car. So making the actual top of the door come off, you could actually jump in the car and sit in the car rather quickly and get belted in. So you could take off, and they retain that
Yeah.
shape and that style.
It's a great engineering solution. I also like the fact, we talked about it a little earlier on, how Ferrari are always looking back into their history and giving little styling cues to what went before. And when you look at the shape of the seats in the Ford GT, that is an absolute nod back to the original Ford GT40 design with the parachute material and the ventilated seats there that the drivers had to try and keep them cool. To put that onto the car, it's one of those things like, if you know what it is, well, you know what it is, and your eyes instantly go to it. I love this car.
Yeah.
Now, Wayne, earlier we were talking about this collection being very low mileage examples. This is the lowest of the low right here.
Yes. It has just over, I think it's 50 miles on it. It was signed by Carroll Shelby on the dash. This is a 2-option car. It has the stripes and the wheels. Does not have the radio system inside, which I sort of like not having because it's that big speaker that comes out. But I think this car is going to knock it out of the park in Monterey. Super low mileage car, great color combination.
Well, I think it's amazing. I think it's going to do very, very well at Monterey. Wayne, we really appreciate you taking us through Mike's collection. Small, cool, unique, and fast.
That's right. And these cars having this low miles in the condition that they're in, I think this is going to be a great Monterey this year. And of course, Mecum always knocks it out of the park, so we hope it happens here too.
I think it will. This is a beautiful, eclectic collection. Mike certainly knew what he was looking for when he was putting this collection together. It's clear to me when I look around at the cars we've seen here that it wasn't just a connection to one brand, to one manufacturer. We've just talked about that. It was anything of a great story, low mileage cars in great condition, a wonderful, wonderful collection.
And Mike was such a great engineer, and I think that that's what he looked at too, is the engineering of all these cars. Each one was different in its own way, and I think that had a big point into why he bought the cars in his collection.
Wayne, we certainly appreciate the little preview here. It's great to see you. Steve, great to see you too. We'll see you guys in Monterey, and we hope to see you there too. Thanks for checking it out.